Helen. Thank you, and let me know if I'm too loud or not loud enough. Thank you for the warm welcome that I received today. It's great to be here. Susan, thank you for inviting me to come and speak. I want to make sure my clicker is working properly. There it is. Okay, so my name's Helen Coates. I'm originally from a town called LLantwit Major in South Wales. It's in between Bridgend and Barry. I'm going to give you a little bit of history about my family so that you understand why I'm actually standing here today. It may make a bit more sense. So my dad's originally from Manchester. In fact, today is actually the anniversary of his passing. He passed away a year ago today, so it's almost kind of interesting that I'm here actually on that anniversary. My mom was originally from Liverpool, a typical Liverpudlian, very feisty, a great cook. She met my dad in the Isle of Man. They got married and they moved to London. My dad worked for a magazine distribution company, and my mother actually worked in the theater booking agency for the black and white minstrel show, if anybody remembers that. They moved to Wales before I was born, and they actually lived in Cardiff in a suburb called Pencoed. And after I was born, they took a day trip to LLantwit Major and immediately fell in love with the beach and decided that that's where they were going to spend the rest of their life. So they found the perfect house and they moved to LLantwit Major, and the rest is history. Every single time my dad was given a promotion, we all voted at the family table that we were not going to leave Wales, and I'm glad that we never did. So I arrived in this country after a very short marriage, and I landed in Scarsdale, New York, living with a Jewish kosher family, and they were incredibly welcoming. It was one of the most wonderful experiences of my life. I arrived here at the ripe old age of 20 with $50 in my back pocket and a return plane ticket. I knew nobody. I didn't know how to drive. I didn't know how to swim. I didn't know how to do a lot of things, actually, when I think about it. And I worked with that family for 7 years. They sponsored me to get my citizenship, and they helped me go back to college. During my time in college, I got my first office job. I also taught scuba diving to cure my fear of swimming. And because the instructor was incredibly cute, it was after I signed on I found out that he was actually married, so that was a shame. And I spent a lot of my 20s and 30s traveling, working, going back and seeing my mom and dad as much as I possibly could. And I finally landed in Westwood, Massachusetts, where I met my partner of 23 years, Chris, who is from Newton Center, if anybody knows where Newton Center is. His family's of Dutch descent. They're all very tall, and I'm extremely short. Because I don't have my glasses on, I can't read what the next line says. So, oh, there we go. Okay. So I had many positions throughout my career. I had been in construction, I'd been in the demolition industry, and I finally ended up at Babson College, where I worked for a gentleman who was the co-founder of Jiffy Lube and the chairman of American Oil. He was actually an entrepreneurship professor, very encouraging to anybody who was even thinking of starting their business. And he said to me before he left to go to be the president of Philadelphia University, "What are you going to do with the rest of your life?" And it really didn't dawn on me that I was going to do anything super special, to be honest with you. I was very happy doing what I'd been doing, supporting other people, and it paid the bills. And so I went to work for a startup in Boston, and two of the students actually won the business plan competition. And it really started me thinking, oh my God, I've done all these different things. You know, if anything ever happens one day, I think I could start my own business. I think I have the courage to do that. Well, 7 years in, I got laid off and my mother passed away. And that was 2013. And that's when I started Copper Kettle Bakery. I had 6 weeks of severance pay, a certain amount of skill in building a website, but one thing I did have was a lot of chutzpah, and I really felt like I had the courage to be able to go out and do something different, partly because of my heritage, partly because my parents instilled a work ethic in me, and I really knew that I wanted to do something different. So I started making Welsh cakes in my home kitchen, handing them out to friends, handing them out to family members, taking them with me anywhere, whether it was in my pocket, in my bag, and handing them out to people. And the first question they would say to me is, well, what is a Welsh cake anyway? And I will describe a Welsh cake to them, to Americans, as a Welsh cake is a cross between a scone, a biscuit, and a pancake. They're made on a griddle. They're not baked in the oven. Now that's a comfortable phrase for me, and that's how I've always described them. I did bring some samples with me, just so you know, and they will not be exactly like your mother's Welsh cakes or your grandmother's or your sister's, but these are the way that my mother made her Welsh cakes. She fried them in bacon fat. I did not fry these in bacon fat today. Being from Liverpool, everything was fried in bacon fat, whether it was the bread you had for breakfast or the Welsh cakes you had with your afternoon tea. When I started my business, it was a lot of banging on doors, not something I was particularly comfortable with, especially because now I'm selling something that I'm making myself. And it's traditional food from a country that a lot of people have never heard of, that many people think is connected to France, which it's not, obviously, we know that. And it was a little bit of a hard sell. So there I have these beautiful little cakes. You give an awful lot of Welsh cakes away trying to get someone to buy a bag of Welsh cakes. But I got to the point where I was making about 500 Welsh cakes a day in my kitchen. So my normal day would start about 1 a.m. I would start making dough. I would griddle the cakes. I would let them cool. I would package them, and then I would drive them to retail stores. During this time, I started my online store, which was a lot easier than driving cases of Welsh cakes to customers. And we also developed a Welsh cake mix. And before I forget, I've left boxes of Welsh cake mix on the table. Please take a box with you. There are some flavors there that are not traditional. I'm just opening that up right now, but take them with you, please, and enjoy them and share them with a friend. And if you have any questions on how to make them, call me. So my inspiration really is my mom and dad. They're no longer on this planet, but they are just really been the reason that I continued. So right now, to be upfront, I actually have 3 jobs. I make Welsh cakes, I work at a Reformed temple, and I build websites for people. And right now I'm building a website for a local bagel company. So stay tuned for that. In the picture, those are my children. That's Miles and Noah. They're 17-year-old twin boys. They're the best tasters you've ever seen. My partner, Chris, and my mom and dad, actually on a trip to Ireland. I've been fortunate that I've gotten some great press. I was in the Boston Globe. The woman who laid me off actually got me the lead at the Boston Globe. I think she felt guilty. The Dedham Times was a great article. I cried actually through most of the video because it had only been 6 months since I'd started my business and I was extremely tired. But I will tell you, the power of the press is unbelievable. You get a little story, your boost in sales goes right through the roof. It's really worth it. So if you know of a product that's out there, or you have a friend that started a business, try to make a connection for them with someone that you know. It really makes a difference. It will make a huge difference to them and also to their courage in being able to continue. So again, this is my phrase I use when describing a Welsh cake, a cross between a scone, a biscuit, and a pancake. The pictures that are there were all bartered pictures. The picture in the hand is actually of my neighbor's son holding a Welsh cake. She bartered for photographs for a case of Welsh cakes. The picture in the bottom is one of hers. And then on the next page, I hope, this picture was done by a friend of mine as a parting gift. She actually closed her business down after starting a commercial kitchen in Jamaica Plain, and then finding out afterwards you're not allowed to have a commercial kitchen in Jamaica Plain because it's in the city of Boston. So $60,000 later, they closed up their business, and she asked me what I would like as a parting gift. And I said, could you take some photos for me? And she did. And that's one of her pictures. So we make 4 flavors: currant, which is traditional. I do make plain. I do make a savory Welsh cake for my family. We make cranberry because we're in New England. We make chocolate chip because we're in America. And I make pineapple coconut because, frankly, I love pineapple coconut. And the next flavor that's going to be launched in a few weeks is apple crisp. I know it's not traditional, and you have to forgive me for that. So we also developed a mix, a complimentary mix, so that people could make the Welsh cakes their own. And you'll find when you take your box with you, if you like nuts, add some nuts. It's okay. There will be no lightning bolts that'll come down up from, I promise, it doesn't happen. I've done it myself. So they're very easy to make. They really are. And a little tip, if you go on my website, it will show you the tip on the right thickness of making a Welsh cake. People say to me all the time, how do you get them to be so consistent? You take the lump of dough and you put 2 wooden spoons on the side, and you roll your rolling pin over the wooden spoons, and it'll be the same thickness every single time. So those are our 3 flavors of mix. We also make a chocolate dipped one, but I'm going to skip by that slide really quickly. We do a lot of social media. Right now, all of my products are actually made in Pennsylvania. I do not make anything in my kitchen anymore. When I lost my my space in Boston, we were asked, myself and 2 other bakers, to move out of this commercial facility because they needed to make room for a larger multi-million-dollar company, and I thought I was going to be out of business. So I started searching for someone to griddle my cakes, and every baker I spoke to said, we can bake them in the oven, you'll see they'll be great. And I said, you can't bake Welsh cakes. There isn't enough moisture in them, you can't bake them. No, you'll see they'll be great. I said, okay, prove it to me. And sure enough, they were terrible. And about 30 or 40 or maybe even 50 different bakers all said the same thing. We're not willing to stand there and griddle for 5 minutes a side, and financially it wasn't worth it. So I turned my website off and basically called all the retail stores, put a post on my site and said I'm actually going to be out of business till I can find a manufacturing partner. And one day I was on the phone with somebody from My Grandma's Cakes. I'm sure we've all eaten My Grandma's Cakes. And the guy said to me, I think I know of someone who can help you, but he's located in Pennsylvania, is that okay? And I said, sure. He said, you know, it's going to take you a few months to get a meeting with him. I said, that's not a problem. I'm very patient. So about 2 weeks later, the guy happened to be in Massachusetts. Do you mind driving? It's about an hour and a half you'll need to drive. I said, no problem. He said, I can give you about a half an hour. I said, that sounds good. So I drove out. We had a meeting. The meeting lasted for 6 hours. We spent about $200 in Panera, and I went to the bathroom about 7 times. By the end of the meeting, we had a deal. He was going to produce for me in Massachusetts and direct ship to my retail stores. So that was about a year ago, and he just re-upped on his commitment to me last month. So we're continuing, so you might be stuck with me. So it's been great. I'm not making enough money to live on it right now. It would be really great if I could. But I do it more because I really love Welsh cakes. I really do. And when someone eats a Welsh cake and it's my Welsh cake, there's an incredible amount of pride in that when it's something that you've made yourself. So when you go to a farmer's market and someone is standing there because they made that hat or that scarf or that jam or that jelly, just remember they may have gotten up at 1 o'clock in the morning to do that just for you. So anyway, that's my cover of my Facebook page. The 2 kids in the middle are my neighbor's kids. 2 kids on the outside were my kids about 5 years ago. They all decided they really need to be on my Facebook page. That again was a bartered picture. That's our Pinterest page, Twitter page rather, Instagram page. So a lot of photographs, a lot of people posting things. It's really a lot of fun. And I do believe that everyone is a Welsh cake fan. And I'm sure you guys are too. So please enjoy the mixes that I brought for you. It's such a thrill to be here. It really is, you've no idea. Thank you.